Hey, what's up, fam? It's Pastor Ed coming to you from Redemption Church. Over the last couple of weeks, you have been seeing the transition happening from the house church to Redemption Church, which is now in Red Hook, Brooklyn. Many have asked why or how or what's the meaning behind us changing our name and moving to a new location. What I want to do over the next couple of minutes is kind of share with you why we've done that. About 3 years ago, I believe it was, I began to work in Red Hook. When I was planting the church, I was bivocational. I ran an after-school program with NYCHA and then with another faith-based organization out in Red Hook. And so I had the opportunity during that time to serve as a director of their after-school program and summer program. And about 200 to about 250 children would come to the program each and every time we ran it. Not only were they part of our program, but much of what happened in Red Hook on my behalf was me looking at that as a ministry opportunity. And so although I ran the after-school program, I also had an opportunity to meet people, meet parents, grandparents, uncles, aunts, kids, brothers and sisters, and really minister to them and their needs. And as a result of that, God just began to burden me with that community. I knew eventually we were going to wind up in Red Hook. I didn't know it was going to be this quick, and I didn't know it was going to be in the manner that we're doing right now. What I envisioned was us planting a church, out of that church, then sending out a leader or pastor to actually begin in Red Hook. And over the last couple of months, God just kind of shifted that plan and reminded me that He is in control and not me. And so as of June of this year, 2016, we kind of made the transition to say, hey, we're abandoning the community of Park Slope in regards to planting a church out there. We are going to shift all of our focus, attention, and resourcing to Red Hook. The greatest reason for this happening is simply because we're finding that God is burdening our hearts and He's opening doors for us to minister in that community. Statistically, there's about 18,000 people that live in Red Hook. That's within about a 10-block radius. That number kind of jumps when we get to the nitty-gritty, to the reality of how many people actually live there, right? This is on paper, but we know that in certain apartments, in certain houses, there are more people that are undocumented, that are living with grandma and grandpa or auntie and uncle, and they're not on the lease. And so we know that number goes from about 18,000, probably closer to about 25,000. And so look at a community that's about 10 blocks wide and long. And there are about 5 churches in that neighborhood that are trying to reach this neighborhood. About 5 out of those 5, maybe there's one that is actually open throughout the week, meaning that their doors are open for prayer, for resourcing, for any kind of connection with the community. The other 4 really just kind of are open on Sunday mornings at around 10 o'clock for service. When you got about 18,000 people looking for hope, looking for an answer, looking for God, it's hard to really be a church that's closed 6 days a week and only open about 2 hours on that one day that you are open. So we're hoping that through Redemption Church, we can be a ministry and a church plant that is holistic in what we do. We don't just want to have services on Sunday and maybe a Bible study midweek and life groups happening in different buildings. What we want to do is actually infiltrate the projects and be a church that is on the ground with the people of Red Hook, providing holistic outreach and ministry. And so when we think holistically, man, it's great for me to go into that neighborhood and preach the gospel and say, man, you need to read your Bible because that's how you grow in discipleship and you grow in the Lord. Well, it makes no sense for me to do that when the dude that I'm reaching or that I'm speaking to can't even read. And so what we want to do is bring an international learning center that'll provide ESL classes, GED prep, job readiness, and partner with some other local organizations that are already doing some great work in the neighborhood but are looking for a location. We want to partner with them and kind of house them in the things that we're looking to do. And so that's kind of our big picture dream and vision for church planting. And I'll speak about how you can actually become part of that. But in addition to the 18,000 people that live in Red Hook, about 79 to 80% of them are minorities. That means they're Hispanic or Black or Asian. Yes, there are some Asians in Red Hook. And so what we want to do as a church plant is be a church that identifies with the people of the community. We want to be a church that shows that out of what many people look at as minorities and people that are incapable and unable to lead, we want to build leadership out of there. We want to show that God's glory reaches all people at all points of living and life. And so we want to be able to be in the hood share the gospel, but also share, man, the reality that through discipleship, God is going to raise up men and women that will love God, that will lead others, and they don't need to leave their context to actually become a great leader and lead others. That right in the midst of the projects, right in the midst of the hood, right in the midst of a gentrified neighborhood, God is raising up men and women to actually do the work of ministry. And so we want to do that with people that we can identify with, people that look like us, that talk like us, people that even at many times will kind of sharpen us because they're not who we think they are. And in that context, we want to be able to love God and love our neighbors through that. 64% of the kids that live in Red Hook are coming from homes that are broken. Many of them are coming from fatherless homes. 64%, I believe the stat is, are coming from homes where dad is not present. And so the idea of family is foreign to many. Or they may have a picture of family, but it's distorted. And so what we want to do is use Redemption Church as a platform where people can see what healthy family looks like. Not just that dad is at home, but when he is home and when he is present, it has an effect in many different ways. It has an effect on education, on what it means to have self-worth, what it means to be protected and loved and cared for. And so we want to be able to leverage the relationships that we have to actually be a platform for ministry to happen for those that will be looking in and those that we will be calling to ministry and to serve in our community. There's a socioeconomic divide in Red Hook. For those that are familiar with the neighborhood, is being gentrified. And so you have the hipsters and the hood that don't identify with one another. They are both frustrated in many ways with each other. And we have been having some success over the summer in having conversations with both the hipsters and the hood and kind of looking at the gospel and saying, man, this is what unifies. This is what brings unity amongst community. This is what draws men from different backgrounds, whether it's socially or economically, to one common ground. And that is that the gospel transforms lives, whether you're rich or you're poor, whether you're black or you're white, or whether you're any color in between, man, it's the gospel that changes. And so we want to be a church that is on the ground with both, bringing all people back centrally to the gospel and saying, man, this transforms, this heals, this restores, this redeems community. Finally, we want to be able, again, to do what God's called us to do, I believe, and that's to serve a community that is broken. There's three ways that we are asking that you would come alongside of us to actually make this happen. We're asking people to pray, to partner, and to provide. In your time of prayer, we ask that you pray for me, that you pray for my wife and my kids, pray for my family, pray for our core team that's about 15 right now that are on the ground serving, giving, sacrificing to actually see this church plant come off the ground. Pray for them. And pray for the people of Red Hook that are actually asking for a church to be planted there. Much of our conversation over the summertime has been, man, what would it look like for a church to be here? And I would say 9 out of 10 people have been saying, man, we need a church that is on the ground, holistically meeting needs. There have been a handful, about 10 to 12 people that specifically said they've been praying and they've been asking God to bring a church plant into their neighborhood because they want to be part of the change that happens in Red Hook. And so pray for the residents of Red Hook as we plant the church out there. So the first way you can partner is through prayer. Secondly, the second way you can partner is through partnering through missions. We're asking churches that are not from New York, that are in the South, the Midwest, the West Coast, to partner with us. Send up missionary teams during the summertime and during the wintertime to actually see what God is doing on the ground. Walk with us, rock with us in New York as we plant churches. They'll be able to see the brokenness in Red Hook, but also see the glory that God is providing in Red Hook through broken people, how he is restoring families, how he's meeting needs, how he is utilizing the church on the ground to actually be that vehicle of change in Red Hook. And so we're asking some of the missionaries to actually be part of this. Those that live here in Brooklyn and specifically in Red Hook, we're asking that you guys will join us and partner with us in planting this church. We want local indigenous people that have lived in Red Hook all their life, have had a burden for Red Hook to be transformed. We're asking you to join us, man. We're not saying come and be perfect. We're not saying come and get it together. We're saying, man, let's walk this out together. I know that it's been a challenge when you've seen churches fail in the past. Man, we're asking that you would trust God and that you would trust us to plant this church in Red Hook and come alongside of us to do the work of ministry in your home. Finally, we're asking for people, individuals, as well as churches to come alongside of us and partner with us by providing financial resources. We know that, man, we can pray all we want, we can have laborers on the ground, but there's a certain aspect of ministry that takes funding for it to actually happen. If we're going to have a location, we need to pay rent, we need to go ahead and provide resources, and some of these things are things that we need outside people that have a burden and a passion for communities like Red Hook to actually come alongside of us and partner through that way. And so we're asking that if God is laying on your heart to partner with us financially, that you would go right ahead and do so with us. Your partnership is not being asked so that we can get new cars and bigger houses, man. We're sacrificing all we can to see the gospel reach lost people. And so your partnership, your generosity, your giving is going to go to actually funding the ministry of planting churches in Red Hook and seeing the gospel reach people that are very far from God. And it's going to take some funding for that to actually happen. And so we're asking that you would do that. Come alongside of us to plant churches, to share the gospel, to be on mission consistently in a neighborhood that is in desperate need of that. If you'd like more information about how to partner through prayer, through sending mission teams up here, or by providing financial resources, you can click on the link below, or you can email us at redemptionredhook@gmail.com. Really appreciate your time for listening to this video, watching it, and praying for us, man. We ask that you continue to do that. And until next time, God bless. Love you guys.